Hello everyone, Thor here. I just saw it on Violent Nature. It seems to be a small release. I saw it last night. It's going to be showing a couple times today, a few more times Friday, but there's not too many showings. It's going to Shudder soon. It's definitely a love letter to Friday the 13th. Let's get into it. So I got a couple of funny stories. I saw it yesterday, and the killer's name's Johnny. He's got a similar backstory to like Jason Voorhees. I had to get some audio cables for a job I do for my tech company, and I had to make some wires, and I met a guy named Johnny, but he wasn't a crazy serial killer, luckily, and was able to help me out. So shout out to Johnny from the music store. Then after I finished up the audio job I had to do, I helped these two nice older people, and they asked me, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to meet my friend for a movie. Of course, they asked, what are you going to go see? And I just said, I'm not sure yet, because I want to tell them, I'm just seeing this violent horror movie. They wouldn't get it. Violent Nature, it definitely lives up to its name. There's a few over-the-top kills that are pretty great. Worth seeing for that. A lot of the movie, though, there's no audio to it. There's no music. It's just him walking through fields. And they give a lot of backstory in the story through the environment, which I thought was really well done. You hear the characters talking, and you kind of get an idea of the role they play in like a horror movie. Like, you can tell one's more athletic. You can tell one guy is just the joke character. They all have their roles, and you get the little bits and you're able to tell, but you don't know their full stories. There's definitely more to it. They even have like a Tommy Jarvis-esque character. They don't show a couple kills, which is a little disappointing, but I imagine that's just saving the budget. The ones they do show, though, are pretty brutal. They showed one on Twitter, and probably the most interesting one. There's a couple other that are pretty brutal, too. I don't think this movie's going to be for everybody, because I think, it's kind of slow because you're just following him walk. Kind of like when Randall's making fun of Lord of the Rings. That's probably like half this movie, if not more. It's interesting to see what he's up to while they're doing all the other stuff, and how he moves slow, so it takes him a while to get from point A to point B. And they definitely gave a backstory for Johnny the killer. They do a campfire scene just like in Friday the 13th Part 2. I don't think it's as good as the one in Friday the 13th Part 2. I didn't like what they were doing with the camera. They spun it around a bunch. Kind of preferred when it was just on focus on him, but you kind of hear a thing like the girl that took a picture saw him in the background, so that's how they figure out something's amiss, because a bunch of their friends are missing. And then it kind of gets to the big chase, but you only get bits and pieces because you're with Johnny the whole time. This is definitely low budget, so I mean, the kills are definitely interesting, but I mean, they look pretty good, but not amazing by any stretch of the imagination. And the film was filmed in 4:3, so definitely gives you that 80s slasher vibe to it. Really interesting that I noticed. It's like, oh, they filmed this in 4:3. Some scenes did an effect to make it feel like it was like out of the 80s, which I think was a nice touch. You can tell director definitely a big fan of those movies. This one's pretty good. I wouldn't say, it's amazing, but it's worth checking out. We haven't had like any good horror movies this year, so it's been pretty tough in that regard. So I definitely think you should check this one out. Worth going to the theater for, I think. If not, wait till Shudder. It'll be there. They could make more of these. What's interesting is this movie is like as if they're like 4 or 5 movies before. I kind of got that idea. He had a lot of scars and things like that, and decaying because he's undead. It seemed like some of the wounds were from previous movies we haven't seen that don't exist yet. The Tommy Jarvis character is like, oh yeah, this has happened like 3 or 4 times, and we're gonna put him down for good. We've heard that before. We know how that goes. I'm gonna talk about the ending here because I think this is gonna be the most divisive part. So spoiler alert. So at the end of the movie, there's one survivor. It's just one final girl. I guessed her from, she had a moment with Johnny earlier, and I was like, that's gonna be the final girl. And I was right, of course I was. I thought they were gonna go for another twist for a bit. So Johnny is, his spirit, he's undead, so his spirit can be put to rest from this locket from his mother. Very similar to Jason. Problem is they took the locket. That's why he goes on his rampage and just murders everyone. So this girl gets to a road, she flags someone down, and they're in a car. The scene goes on for so long. It's like 10 minutes. I know they're trying to build tension because you're just like, something's going to happen. Turns out nothing happened, and the movie just kind of ends there. And they pan off where she left the locket, and it shows he took the locket. So who knows what happened to Johnny, I think it's possibly for a sequel, but like I definitely do like for a prequel. I thought it was okay. I'd give it a 7. I like the different approach, and I'm sure if I watch it more, I'll notice other things. Definitely not going to be for everybody. It's worth it for a couple kills. I was kind of disappointed the couple that they cut away from. When you have low budget, you spend it where you can and you save it where you can. I need to look into what else he's worked on, though. I think he definitely shot well. I think the movie looks good, so it was just a fun slasher movie, and it's the perfect time of year for it. So like I said, go check it out. See you in the next one. Thor out.